Focus on yourself and stay silent before coming 2026, because the world doesn't need your words, it needs your results. That's the mindset you must carry if you're serious about changing your life. Think about it. How much time have you wasted explaining your plans to people who don't even care? How many times have you slowed down because you were busy proving something instead of building it? From this moment forward, that ends. And 2026 is not far away. The question is, will you step into it prepared, strong, and disciplined, or will you arrive the same way you are now? Every day between now and then is an opportunity to rebuild your habits, sharpen your focus, and work quietly without distraction. No more unnecessary noise, no more looking for approval, just straight action. This is the season where you keep your head down, lock in on your vision, and allow your silence to build the weight you'll carry into the future. Chapter 1. Stop chasing approval and work on your own life. Stop chasing approval and work on your own life. That's where the change begins. That's where everything starts to move in your favor. The truth is, as long as you keep looking around, wondering what others think of you, hoping they'll validate your efforts, your mind will never be fully yours. Your direction will always shift based on other people's opinions. You'll work for applause instead of results. You'll speak to be liked instead of staying quiet to grow. You'll dress up your image while your life falls apart behind the scenes. And that's no way to live. That's no way to build something that lasts. If you want your life to mean something, stop giving your energy to people who aren't building with you. You don't need to be seen right now. You don't need to be liked by everyone. You need to be respected by yourself. Approval is a short hit. It fades fast. It gets you nowhere. One day they like your post. The next day they scroll past it. One day they say you're amazing. The next day they forget you. And if your sense of self is tied to that, you'll never feel steady. You'll never feel calm. You'll never feel strong. You have to work on your life like it's the only one you've got, because it island. You have to stop checking your phone every few minutes, hoping someone noticed your effort. You have to stop telling everyone your next move, hoping for praise. The truth is, the most valuable work happens in silence. The real breakthroughs don't get posted. They happen when no one's watching. Early in the morning, late at night, when it's just you and your choices, when it's just you and your thoughts. That's where you learn discipline. That's where you develop strength. That's where you separate yourself. Chasing approval is a trap. It keeps you running in circles. It makes you exhausted and empty. And you end up building your life based on what looks good to others instead of what actually works for you. That's dangerous. You'll look successful but feel lost. You'll have attention but no direction. You'll be surrounded but still feel alone. Approval is addictive. And like any addiction, it destroys your freedom. It controls your choices. It hijacks your focus. And if you're not careful, it becomes the only thing you live for. You have to decide what matters most: their applause or your peace, their opinions or your growth, their attention or your truth, because you can't have both. You can't grow and please everybody at the same time. Real growth offends people. Real progress makes others uncomfortable. When you stop explaining yourself and start improving yourself, people won't always clap. And that's okay. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it because you've had enough of playing small. You've had enough of waiting for someone to approve your potential. The truth is, most people are not even thinking about you. They're too busy thinking about themselves. That's why it's foolish to keep wondering what they think of your journey. They're not watching your steps the way you imagine. They're not tracking your every move. You're giving them space in your head they didn't even ask for. That space belongs to your ideas, your goals, your healing, your habits, not their opinions. You've got to work on your life like no one's coming to save it. Because no one island, not your friends, not your co-workers, not your social media followers. It's on you. You either build a future that feels right, or you keep shrinking your life to fit into what others find acceptable. And believe me, their definition of acceptable will keep changing. You'll never catch up. So, stop trying to fit. Start trying to grow. The approval you're chasing is costing you your time. It's delaying your progress. Every time you wait for someone to say, "You're doing great," you're losing minutes you could have used to actually become great. Every time you stop your momentum to get someone's reaction, you break your rhythm. And rhythm is everything when you're trying to build something. You need that focus. You need that silence. You need that consistency. That's how you build a strong foundation. That's how you move forward without needing permission. Most people don't need more talent. They need more focus. They need more solitude. They need more patience. And you can't get that if you're always trying to impress. You can't become who you're meant to be if you're busy performing for the crowd. Your energy is too valuable for that. You weren't born to be everyone's favorite. You were born to live your truth, to become disciplined, to sharpen your thinking, to walk with clarity. That takes time. That takes being alone sometimes. That takes being misunderstood for a while, and that's fine. Silence is powerful. When you're silent, you hear your real thoughts. You recognize your patterns. You face your weaknesses. You confront your distractions. And you can't do that when you're surrounded by noise. You need stillness to get strong. You need space to get serious. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for that. You don't have to justify your silence. You don't have to explain why you're focusing on yourself. You just do it, quietly, consistently, strongly. When you stop chasing approval, you start attracting respect. When you stop talking about your plans, you actually make progress. When you stop trying to impress people, you start impressing yourself. And that's what lasts. That's what builds real confidence. Not what they say about you, but what you know you've overcome, what you've survived, what you've built in private, what you've disciplined yourself to do, even when no one noticed. That's where your power comes from. People may laugh when you disappear for a while. They may gossip when you say no to their invitations. They may doubt you when you set new goals. But that's not your problem. Your job is not to be liked. Your job is to get better, to work on your habits, to manage your time, to stay committed to your growth. And if that makes you less popular for a season, so be it. Popularity is temporary. Progress is permanent. You can't afford to stay distracted right now. Time is moving, opportunities are passing, and if you're stuck in a cycle of proving your worth to others, you're going to miss your breakthrough. You're going to waste the very season that could have changed everything. This is your moment to focus, to rebuild, to upgrade, not for attention, not for applause, but because your future depends on it. Because the next version of you doesn't need anyone's approval to be great. So stop checking who's watching. Start checking your actions. Stop asking for opinions. Start asking yourself real questions. Are you better than you were last year? Are you spending your time wisely? Are you keeping your promises to yourself? Are you growing when no one's watching? That's what matters. That's what changes your life. This is the time to choose yourself. Not in a selfish way, but in a responsible way, a focused way, a disciplined way, because 2026 is coming. And when it comes, you don't want to look back and regret that you were too busy chasing likes instead of living your purpose. You want to be proud that you stayed silent and worked, that you didn't need noise to grow, that you didn't wait for validation to move. Start today. Close the tabs. Put down the phone. Write your goals. Stick to your plan. Keep your word to yourself, not for the world to see, but for your own peace, for your own strength. For the version of you that's waiting on the other side of silence. That's where the power island, That's where your life begins to change. And that's where you take back your mind and your mission, one quiet, focused step at a time. Chapter 2. Let people assume and use silence as power. Most people waste their energy trying to explain themselves to those who already made up their minds. They argue, defend, and justify every decision, hoping that someone will finally understand them. But real growth begins when you stop doing that. Real strength starts when you no longer need to be understood by everyone. If they want to assume, let them. If they want to guess, let them guess. If they think you're lost, let them. If they think you gave up, let them believe it. You don't need to fix their opinion. You need to fix your focus. Silence gives you control. When you don't react, you stay centered. When you don't explain, you keep your power. Most people speak out of insecurity. They talk because they feel uncomfortable with not being seen. But the truth is, silence doesn't make you invisible. It makes you untouchable. When you hold your words, you hold your direction. People can't throw you off. They can't distract you. They can't pull you into their confusion. You stay in charge of your time, your goals, and your peace. Those who live loud often do so because they lack discipline. They want to be heard before they've built anything real. But the ones who grow quietly, who show up every day, who take the hits and keep moving, they're the ones building foundations that last. You don't have to prove anything right now. You're not in competition with anyone. You're not here to convince people of your worth. You're here to become someone you respect when no one's watching. That requires silence. That requires peace. That requires the maturity to walk away from conversations that don't move you forward. Letting people assume means you trust yourself. It means you understand that people's opinions aren't facts. Their assumptions don't define your truth. They don't know what you've sacrificed. They don't know what you're rebuilding. They don't see the nights you stayed up fighting for your future. They weren't there when you had to pull yourself out of the mess. So why try to explain? Why pour your energy into fixing their view of you when you could be using that same energy to fix your life? Silence is not weakness, it's intelligence, it's awareness, it's a choice. When someone throws shade at you and you don't respond, that's strength. When someone doubts you and you keep working, that's growth. You don't need to clear up every rumor. You don't need to reply to every comment. Your life will speak. Your results will make the noise. And when they look back later, they'll realize they were wrong, but by then, you won't even care. You have a limited amount of energy every day, and that energy must be protected. Every time you react to something meaningless, you waste it. Every time you explain yourself to someone who doesn't care, you drain yourself. You weren't made to be understood by everyone. You were made to fulfill a purpose. And sometimes that purpose requires isolation. It requires distance. It requires pulling back from the crowd so you can hear your own voice again. People love to talk about what they think you're doing. They love to fill in the blanks when they don't have the facts. And that's fine. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to be clear with yourself, to know where you're headed, to stay committed to your process, not to keep updating people on your progress, not to try to impress anyone with your plans. Your silence will disturb them more than any explanation ever could, because silence means you're working. Silence means you're moving in a direction they can't track, and that unsettles them. The strongest people in the room are usually the quietest, not because they're shy, but because they're focused. They've learned that energy isn't free. It must be used wisely. So instead of talking, they act. Instead of posting every move, they execute. They know that growth doesn't require permission. It just requires discipline. And discipline grows in silence. It grows in those unseen hours when no one is clapping. It grows in those mornings when you show up, even when no one notices. When you stay silent, People will create stories in their heads. Let them. While they're talking about you, you're building something they'll never understand. While they're guessing, you're growing. While they're stuck in opinions, you're evolving. You don't owe anyone updates. You don't owe them your process. You don't owe them access to your mind. That belongs to you. That's where your future is being built. Guard it. Some people will misjudge your silence. They'll call it arrogance. They'll think you're ignoring them. They'll say you've changed. And maybe you have. Maybe you've changed because the version of you that needed to explain everything is gone. Maybe you've changed because you finally realized that peace is more valuable than being liked. Maybe you've changed because you're tired of repeating yourself to people who never really listened. That kind of change is necessary. That kind of change saves your life. Every time you say nothing, you're telling the world, I choose myself. You're saying, I no longer need to be approved to keep moving. You're saying, my energy matters more than your opinion. And that's when things start to shift. That's when your life begins to reshape itself around who you're becoming, not who people think you are. That's when the noise fades and the clarity rises. That's when you start to walk in power. This is not the time to seek validation. This is not the time to announce every small move. This is the time to pull back, to regroup, to level up quietly, to let your transformation happen behind closed doors. Because when the results show up, they won't need an introduction. They'll speak for you. They'll erase the doubts. They'll silence the noise. And the same people who misunderstood your silence will start asking how you did it. But by then, your focus will be too strong to get pulled into their questions. You're not here to entertain people with your progress. You're here to change your life. You're here to wake up every day with intention, to build discipline that can't be shaken, to work when it's boring, to grow when it's hard, to keep going when no one claps. That's what silence trains you for. It teaches you to keep showing up without recognition, to keep building when no one understands your path. Let them wonder. Let them talk. Let them assume. Because while they talk, you're living. You're showing up. You're healing. You're working. You're growing. And in the end, that's what counts. Not the comments, not the guesses, not the rumors, but the quiet decisions you make every single day that bring you closer to the life you want. Give yourself permission to stop explaining. Not everyone deserves access to your truth. Some people want to argue, not understand. Some people listen to reply, not to learn. And when you explain yourself to those people, you waste your breath. Save it. Use that energy to improve your habits. Use it to plan your next step. Use it to become so solid that no opinion can shake you. Silence doesn't mean you're hiding. It means you're preparing. It means you're prioritizing yourself. It means you're creating space to grow. And when the time is right, you'll speak through your results. You'll speak through your peace. You'll speak through your strength. Until then, keep building, keep learning, keep rising. Not everyone needs to understand your silence. Only you do. And if it brings you peace, power, and focus, then it's doing exactly what it should. Stay quiet, stay sharp, stay focused, and watch how far you go.
Chapter 3. Turn off everything and sit with your thoughts. Turn off everything and sit with your thoughts. That's one of the most important things you'll ever do for your life. Not because it feels good, not because it's easy, but because it's real. In a world where every second is filled with noise, distractions and notifications, it's become rare to just sit still and think. But without that quiet, you'll never understand where you actually stand. You'll never know what's really going on inside of you. You'll be reacting all day long, scrolling, clicking, checking, moving, without even knowing what you truly believe or where you're heading. Most people are running, but they're not going anywhere meaningful. They stay busy to avoid facing the silence. They don't want to hear the truth their mind keeps whispering. They fear the moment they turn everything off because they know what's waiting there. Questions, regrets, confusion, unprocessed pain. But here's the truth. If you never face your thoughts will control your life without your permission. You'll keep repeating patterns that hurt you. You'll make decisions based on anxiety instead of clarity. You'll call it life, but it's really just avoidance. It's not that people don't want peace. It's that they don't want the process of facing what's inside to get it. The path to peace starts by turning everything off. Shut the TV. Power down your phone. Get away from the noise. Not just the digital noise, but even the emotional clutter you've been carrying. And then sit, not for a minute, not for two, but long enough to listen to yourself. Really listen, without judgment, without shame. Just observe your thoughts, like they belong to someone else. You'll hear the truth in that silence. You'll feel the tension in your chest. You'll notice what thoughts come back again and again. And those thoughts aren't random. They're patterns. They're wounds. They're beliefs you've been holding on to without ever questioning them. You'll realize how much of your life is shaped by things you never chose consciously. Ideas planted by fear, opinions borrowed from others, doubts you accepted as facts. And it's only when you sit in silence that you start to separate yourself from all of that. Sitting with your thoughts is a personal responsibility. No one can do it for you. No one can give you that awareness. You have to earn it. You have to choose it, because it's not always pleasant. You'll face yourself in ways you've avoided for years. You'll remember what you buried. You'll feel the weight of decisions you've delayed. You'll see clearly what's holding you back. But that clarity is the beginning of power. You can't change what you don't understand, and you'll never understand your life if you never slow down to look at it from the inside. Most of your answers are not out there. They're not in another video, not in another quote, not in another opinion. They're already inside you, but buried under distractions. The truth doesn't shout, it whispers, and if you never sit quietly, you'll never hear it. You'll keep chasing validation. You'll keep seeking stimulation. You'll keep escaping from yourself. But the longer you run from your own thoughts, the further you get from peace. You'll keep filling your time but never your soul, and eventually that catches up to you. Turn everything off and notice how your body feels. Notice the tension in your shoulders, the racing in your chest, the pressure behind your eyes. That's not just physical, that's emotional overload. That's your body trying to tell you something. It's not meant to run all day on input. It needs stillness to process. It needs silence to repair. But most people never give themselves that gift. They wait until they break down, until they explode, until they collapse. Don't wait for that. Sit now, reflect now, heal now. When you sit with your thoughts, don't try to fix everything at once. Just watch. Let the thoughts come. Some will make you uncomfortable. Some will bring back old pain. Some will make you question things you thought were settled. But all of them are part of your growth. You don't need to control the thoughts. You just need to see them. And with time you'll start to notice the difference between what's real and what's just noise. You'll recognize which thoughts are helpful and which ones are just echoes from a past you no longer belong to. This is not a quick practice. It's not something you do once and forget. This becomes a part of your life, a space you return to regularly, a meeting with yourself, a daily check-in with your direction. Because no matter how focused you think you are, life can distract you. Emotions can cloud your decisions. Stress can blur your vision, and silence resets you. It helps you recalibrate. It brings you back to what really matters. When everything is turned off and you're just sitting there alone, you start to feel what's real. You start to notice what thoughts give you energy and what thoughts drain. You begin to understand what your mind repeats most often. And that's where your work is, not in fixing the world, not in fixing people, but in fixing your inner world. Because if your mind is messy, your life will be messy. If your thinking is weak, Your choices will reflect that. But if you train your mind in silence, your actions will reflect strength. You also start to feel emotions you've been pushing down: anger, sadness, guilt, resentment, disappointment, all the things you've been too busy to feel. And that's not a bad thing. That's healing. That's release. That's progress. Because once you acknowledge those feelings, you can process them. And once they're processed, they lose their grip on you. You stop reacting from pain. You start responding with clarity. That changes your life in ways you never imagined. Silence also reveals your desire, what you really want, what matters to you beyond what the world told you to chase. When you remove the noise, you reconnect with your core, and that's where real motivation comes from. That's where your values live. That's where your drive is born, not from pressure, not from comparison, but from truth. And truth is powerful. You don't need perfect conditions to do this. You don't need a mountaintop or a retreat. You just need a few minutes of honesty, a quiet space, a decision to stop running from yourself. You can do this right now. Sit in a chair, close your eyes, feel your breath, watch your thoughts, let the silence do its work. It's not about controlling your mind. It's about facing it. Some people fear silence because they've associated it with loneliness. But there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Being alone with your thoughts is where real strength is built. You learn to be your own friend, your own motivator, your own guide. And when you master that, no one can take your peace. No one can disturb your focus. Because you've anchored yourself in truth, you also become more intentional. You stop moving just to stay busy. You start making choices that reflect your values. You stop saying yes to things that don't align. You stop wasting time on things that drain you. Silence gives you a filter. It helps you say, this matters, that doesn't. It simplifies your mind, and a simplified mind is a powerful mind. You become more grateful. You start to notice things you missed before. The way the light enters your room, the sound of your own breath, the feeling of calm in your chest, the ability to think clearly. Those moments are priceless. They shift your focus from what's missing to what's real, and that shift changes your mood, your energy, your direction. You also stop fearing time alone. You embrace it. You crave it, because you know that every time you turn everything off and sit with your thoughts, you come back stronger, more grounded, more focused, more in control. And that's what most people are missing. Not motivation, not information, but stillness. The courage to be with themselves long enough to actually grow. Start today. Set a time. Make it a habit. Even 5 minutes. No phone, no music, no talking. Just you and your thoughts. At first it'll feel uncomfortable. That's normal. You're detoxing from noise. But stay with it. Keep showing up. Keep sitting. Keep listening. Over time, that silence will become your strength. That quiet will guide you, and your thoughts will no longer control you. You'll control them, and that's where real freedom begins.
Chapter 4. Do the hard work when no one believes you. Doing the hard work when no one believes in you is one of the most difficult yet necessary things you'll ever face. It's uncomfortable, it's lonely, it's quiet. You look around and no one claps, no one checks in, no one says, you're on the right path. But that's exactly where your power begins. That's where you grow from the inside out, not because someone else sees it, but because you chose to see it yourself. When there's no spotlight, no attention, no support, and you still show up, that's the kind of discipline that builds a foundation no one can take from you. Most people wait for someone to validate their effort before they start. They want a cheerleader. They want reassurance. They want someone to tell them it's working. But that's a trap. If you only work hard when someone is watching, you're not building strength. You're performing. Real work starts when nobody notices. It starts in the hours when you're tired, but you keep pushing. It starts when your goals are too far to touch, but you keep walking.
It starts when people say you're wasting your time, and you use that as fuel instead of a reason to quit. There will be times when your vision is too big for others to understand. When you talk about your goals, they'll smile politely or change the subject. Some might even laugh. Others will try to bring you back to their level because your effort makes them uncomfortable. But that's not your problem. You didn't start for applause. You started because something inside of you knew you were meant for more, and that more doesn't require permission. It doesn't require agreement. It requires consistency. It requires doing the work even when it feels like no one cares. You'll wake up some days and feel like it's all pointless. You'll wonder if the sacrifices are worth it. You'll question yourself. That's normal. But feelings are not facts. Doubt is not a stop sign. It's part of the process. You don't need to feel confident to take action. You need to stay committed. One small move at a time. One disciplined decision at a time. Even if the progress is slow, it's still progress. Even if no one sees the effort, it's still changing you. When you do the hard work in silence, you develop something rare: internal strength. A type of strength that doesn't break under pressure. A strength that doesn't collapse when life gets messy. You learn how to rely on yourself. You learn how to keep going with no audience. And when that becomes your default, there's not a lot that can shake you. You become the kind of person who doesn't need to announce every move, because you're too busy improving. You don't need to explain your schedule, because you've already set your standards. You're not waiting for support. You're creating momentum through your own effort. The truth is, most people won't understand your grind. They won't feel the weight you're carrying. They won't see the hours you invest, and some won't even care. That's okay, because this journey isn't about being seen. It's about becoming real, becoming focused, becoming relentless. The more time you spend trying to get others to believe in you, the less time you're putting into believing in yourself. And self-belief is not a feeling. It's a habit. It's built through repetition, through keeping your word when nobody's checking, through showing up when it would be easier to give up. There's no reward for needing approval to grow. If your motivation depends on being noticed, you'll be weak when things get quiet. But when your motivation is built on your own standards, your own goals, your own commitment, then you're unstoppable. You won't care who's watching. You'll care about who you're becoming. That mindset changes everything. You don't beg for opportunity. You prepare for it. You don't compete for attention. You earn results. You don't chase opinions. You build evidence. It's easy to work hard when people support you. It's easy to stay focused when everyone believes in your dream. But life doesn't always work like that. Sometimes you're all you've got, and that's not a weakness. It's a training ground. That's where you prove to yourself that you're serious, that you're not doing this for show, that your word matters, that your actions don't depend on recognition, they depend on discipline. You don't need a big audience to build a better life. You need habits, you need focus, you need clarity. The rest comes later. When the results show up, people will pay attention, but by then it won't even matter to you, because you'll have already changed. You'll already know what you're capable of, and that self-respect is worth more than applause. It's worth more than likes. It's worth more than being understood. You'll also learn who your real supporters are when you're grinding quietly. The ones who still check on you, the ones who respect your boundaries, the ones who don't question your silence. Those people are rare. Keep them, but even without them, keep going. Not everyone will get your drive. Not everyone will understand why you're up early and out late, why you turn down distractions, why you say no more often than yes, but you do, and that's enough. Doing the hard work when no one believes in you builds confidence that isn't loud. It's solid. You don't need to talk about your potential. You're living it. You don't need to convince anyone. Your growth does the speaking, and when you walk into a room, people can feel it. That energy, that focus, that quiet power. It comes from the work no one saw, from the hours you pushed through doubt, From the days you chose progress over comfort. There's no shortcut for this, no secret strategy, just daily action, discipline when you're tired, focus when you're distracted, effort when it's boring, and consistency when it's hard. You keep showing up, you keep adjusting, you keep moving, you stop needing motivation, you start depending on structure, you replace emotion with strategy, and little by little, your life starts changing. It won't always feel rewarding. Sometimes the days will blur together. Sometimes you'll question if anything is changing, but growth is often silent. The biggest changes happen quietly, like a muscle building beneath the surface, like a mind sharpening one choice at a time, like a future unfolding while the world is asleep. Don't wait for applause to feel worthy. Don't wait for support to feel strong. Work hard now, even if no one believes in you, especially then, because that's the kind of work that can't be faked. That's the kind of effort that builds a life that lasts. You'll look back one day and be grateful that they didn't believe you, because it forced you to believe in yourself. It pushed you to build something they couldn't see. It gave you a reason to focus. It gave you space to grow, and by the time they notice, you'll have already built it. Not for them, not to prove a point, but because you refused to settle, you refused to wait, you chose to work. That's what separates people who grow from people who just talk about it. So get up early. Even if no one notices, stay consistent. Even when they doubt you, keep building even if they think you're wasting your time, because every rep counts, every step matters, and one day everything will make sense. Not to them but to you, because you'll remember that you didn't wait for permission, you didn't ask for reassurance, you simply showed up day after day, quietly, strongly, relentlessly. And that made all the difference.
Chapter 5. Feel the pain and still choose to show up. There will be days when everything in you feels heavy. You wake up, and it's not energy that greets you, it's exhaustion. Not the kind that sleep fixes, but the kind that sits in your chest. Emotional weight. Mental fog. Maybe something went wrong. Maybe you feel lost. Maybe it's pain you can't even explain, but it's there. And on those days, showing up feels like the hardest thing in the world. You look at your goals and feel disconnected. You look at the path ahead and wonder if you have what it takes. That's real. That's human. Everyone reaches those moments, but not everyone pushes through them. The most powerful thing you can do in those moments is to show up anyway, not because you feel ready, not because you feel strong, but because you've decided your pain won't stop your progress. That's a choice. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about continuing despite how you feel. It's about showing up with the pain, not after it's gone. Most people wait for their pain to disappear before they take action, but sometimes that pain stays longer than expected, and if you let it decide your actions, you'll remain stuck for years. Pain doesn't mean stop, it means something matters. It means something in your life is calling for your attention, and sometimes pain isn't meant to be escaped. It's meant to be worked through. You can't ignore it. You can't suppress it. You feel it. You carry it. And still, you move forward. That's the difference between those who evolve and those who stay in place. You don't wait for the pain to leave. You walk with it. You train through it. You build in the middle of it. And that process creates depth. It builds real strength. Not surface-level hype, but the kind of grit that lasts. No one sees the full weight of what you're carrying. They don't know what it costs you to keep going, but that's not their job. That's yours. It's your job to take responsibility for your energy, to accept that life won't always feel light, to understand that some chapters will test your limits. That's not weakness. That's growth. And the more you learn to keep showing up during those difficult moments, the less power those moments have over you. You stop waiting for life to be easy. You stop waiting for motivation. You become driven by something deeper.
your standards. You're not weak for feeling pain. You're not soft for breaking down sometimes. You're not broken because your heart hurts. These things make you human. But what will define you is what you do next. Do you stay down, or do you get up slowly, painfully, but intentionally? That choice creates your character. That choice tells your mind that you're the one in charge, not your emotions, not your past, not your circumstances, you. There will be moments when your mind says, "Don't do it today," when your body feels like quitting, when your heart isn't in it. That's when it matters most. That's when your decision carries weight. It's easy to show up when you feel good. It's easy to take action when you're inspired. But true growth happens when you move anyway, when you get out of bed with a heavy heart and still commit to your routine. When you enter that gym, open that notebook, sit down to focus, even if everything in you wants to run away. That's the muscle most people never train. The muscle of doing it anyway. You won't always be able to give 100%, but you can always give something. Even if it's just showing up and doing the bare minimum. That still counts. That still builds momentum. That still reminds your mind, I'm still in the game. Because when you stop completely, it's much harder to start again. But when you keep moving, even in small steps, you maintain your rhythm. And that rhythm is what saves you when motivation is gone. Pain can teach you, if you're willing to listen. It can show you what needs healing. It can reveal what you've been avoiding. It can help you understand yourself at a deeper level. But only if you stay with it. Only if you refuse to numb it. Most people try to drown their pain in distraction. They bury it under work, noise, or other people's attention. But unresolved pain keeps leaking into everything. Into your relationships, into your habits, into your decisions. That's why facing it matters. Feeling it is necessary. But staying stuck in it isn't. You learn so much about yourself when you choose to act through the discomfort. You learn what your values are. You learn what your priorities actually look like. You learn that you're capable of continuing even with your heart aching. That changes your relationship with discipline. You stop relying on feelings. You start relying on decision. You stop chasing perfect conditions. You start building no matter what's happening around you. There's a version of you that only pain can shape. A version of you that doesn't back down just because things hurt. A version that uses pain as a checkpoint, not a dead end. And every time you choose to move forward in the middle of emotional chaos, that version grows. You don't have to smile through it. You don't have to smile through it. You don't have to fake anything. You just have to stay consistent with what you promised yourself before the pain showed up. And here's something most people don't realize. The pain eventually teaches you how to be calm in the storm. It teaches you that emotions pass, that thoughts settle, that what feels unbearable in one moment becomes manageable in the next. But only if you stay grounded, only if you keep showing up. If you stop every time it hurts, you never give yourself the chance to see what's on the other side. You never reach the point where your inner strength takes over. That's why you must choose to show up even when it's difficult. Some days you'll move slowly. Some days you'll cry in the middle of progress. Some days you'll question everything. But even on those days, showing up builds trust with yourself. And that trust is what fuels your long-term growth. You begin to see that consistency is not about perfection. It's about not quitting, not folding, not hiding. Even when it's heavy, even when you feel lost, you still put one foot forward. There's no timeline for healing, no perfect path for how long it should take. But showing up through the process keeps you aligned with your future. It reminds you that life moves on, that you're not defined by what you're feeling today, that your story continues with or without your comfort. And the ones who keep going despite the weight, they become the ones others look up to. Not because they had it easy, but because they refused to give up. You might not get recognition for showing up in pain. People may never know what you pushed through to stay committed, but that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it because you respect your journey too much to pause it. You're doing it because you know that one decision can keep your momentum alive. You're doing it because you've seen what happens when you stop, and you've made a promise to yourself not to go back there again. It won't feel fair. It won't always make sense. But life isn't about ease. It's about growth. And the ones who grow the most are not the ones who had perfect conditions. They're the ones who kept walking through the storm, who kept planting seeds even when nothing was blooming, who kept building even when everything hurt. That's what creates resilience. That's what builds character. And that's what leads to a life you can be proud of. So on the days when your heart is heavy, show up. On the days when your mind is racing, show up. On the days when you feel alone, show up. Not because it's easy, not because you're ready, but because your future deserves it. Because your story isn't finished. Because your next chapter is shaped by what you choose in this one. Feel the pain. Acknowledge it. Respect it. But don't let it stop you. Keep showing up for the life you're building, for the person you're becoming, and for the purpose that hasn't revealed itself yet, but is already waiting for you.
Chapter 6. Hold your vision tight and speak absolutely nothing. When you have a vision that means something to you, one that comes from a deep place inside, you don't need to explain it to the world. You don't need to shout it from the rooftops. You don't need to convince anyone to support it. You just hold it, quietly, closely, like it's the most valuable thing in your life, because it is. And when something matters that much, you protect it. You don't expose it to noise. You don't throw it into conversations that won't respect it. You don't hand it to people who aren't building anything of their own. You keep it in your hands, in your heart, in your actions. Most people want to talk about what they're going to do. They want to impress others with future plans. They want to feel the rush of saying something big, but words don't build anything. Words don't create change. What builds things is quiet work. What changes your life is showing up for your vision when no one claps, when no one cares, when no one sees. Your vision isn't a performance, it's a mission. And the more you talk about it, the more energy you waste. That energy should be going into building, not announcing. When you speak too much about what hasn't happened yet, you create unnecessary pressure. You start chasing expectations instead of staying grounded. You start making decisions based on who's watching instead of what's real. And slowly, your focus shifts. You stop working for your future and start performing for approval. That's dangerous. It pulls you away from your path. It makes you forget that this vision wasn't meant to entertain others. It was meant to change your life. Silence is a tool. When you hold your vision in silence, you give it space to grow. You give it time to develop without interference. You keep it safe from distractions and doubt. You stay close to it. You become more connected to your reasons. You build a relationship with your goals that no one else can touch. And that kind of connection builds clarity. You know why you're doing what you're doing. You stop second-guessing. You stop needing feedback. You just keep moving. You also avoid unnecessary opinions. When you speak too soon, you invite noise. People will project their fears onto you. They'll tell you it's not realistic. They'll ask, "Who do you think you are?" Not because they want to help you, but because your ambition makes them uncomfortable. And if you're not solid in your vision, their doubts will plant themselves in your mind. That's why silence matters. You're not hiding. You're guarding. You're not avoiding feedback. You're protecting your momentum.
There's a strength that builds when you keep things to yourself. You rely more on your own thoughts. You pay attention to your own effort. You stop looking outside for confirmation. You build self-trust. You build personal discipline. You learn to move with intention instead of approval. That kind of discipline is rare. Most people don't have it. Most people need to be seen to feel successful. But the truth is, the real work is often invisible. It happens early in the morning, late at night, in small repetitive actions that no one notices but you. And the more you do this, the more confident you become, not in a loud external way, but in a quiet, stable way. You walk differently because you know what you're building. You don't need to announce your progress. You don't need to convince anyone. You can just be focused, committed, solid. That kind of energy is powerful. It's the kind of energy that doesn't seek attention. It earns respect. Sometimes silence is misjudged. People think you're not doing anything. They assume you've given up, that you're stuck, that you've stopped trying. But that doesn't matter. Their assumptions have nothing to do with your reality. You're not here to explain. You're not here to perform. You're here to transform. And transformation takes time. It takes privacy. It takes space. Not everything needs to be public. Not everything needs to be documented. Some things are more powerful when they're built in silence. It's also important to know that your vision won't make sense to everyone, and it doesn't have to. It was given to you, not to them. You saw it because it's part of your journey. They don't need to see it. They don't need to believe in it. They don't need to understand it. Stop waiting for their approval. Stop hoping for their support. Move anyway. Build anyway. Grow anyway. Because the longer you wait for someone else to validate your dream, the longer you delay your progress. Silence also creates focus. It cuts out the noise. When you stop talking and start doing, you notice things you never saw before. You become aware of your habits. You realize what's helping you and what's hurting you. You make better decisions. You move with purpose. You stay in your lane. That kind of focus is what separates real growth from surface-level hype. You're not bouncing from one idea to the next. You're not chasing attention. You're building something solid, brick by brick, quietly, consistently, and every day you stay silent and focused. Your vision gets clearer. Your actions get sharper. You feel more connected to your path. You start seeing results. Not because you announced anything, but because you stayed with it, and those results speak louder than anything you could say. When the time comes, your work will show, and by then you won't even need to explain it. The results will do the talking. This isn't about being secretive or afraid. It's about being committed. It's about valuing your energy enough to stop wasting it on empty talk. It's about growing for real, not for show. Most people talk about success, but few do the daily work. Most people post about goals, but few stay consistent when it's hard. You want to be the one who does it differently. You want to be the one who doesn't need to speak because your work is loud enough. There's peace in silence. No one interrupting your thoughts. No distractions pulling you off course. Just you and your mission. Just you and the next step. You'll realize that everything you were searching for outside confidence, clarity, strength, it was inside you all along, but you had to go quiet to find it. You had to disconnect from the world to reconnect with yourself. And once you understand the power of silence, you stop needing the outside world to fuel your progress. You fuel it yourself. You show up every day. Not because someone is watching, but because you said you would. You stay loyal to your standards. You push through when it gets uncomfortable. You correct your course when you drift. That's what real growth looks like. It's not always exciting. It's not always visible, but it's always worth it. Every goal, every change, every breakthrough starts with a quiet decision. A decision you don't announce. A decision you don't explain. A decision you hold close and then act on, again and again, with patience, with discipline, with courage, and before you know it, the results begin to show, not overnight, but over time, and when they do, you won't need to say a word, you'll know, and that knowing will be enough. This is how you stay ahead, by staying focused, not loud, by doing the work when no one's around, by moving with intention, not for attention. Your vision matters, your progress matters, but your words aren't needed right now, your actions are. So hold that vision tight, keep it close, protect it, work for it, and speak absolutely nothing. Let your work speak when it's ready. Until then, stay silent, stay disciplined, stay locked in, because that's how real results are made. Chapter 7. Disappear for a while and fix what's broken. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your life is to step away, not because you're giving up, not because you're hiding, but because you've realized something needs to be rebuilt, and that kind of work doesn't happen in front of everyone. When life starts to feel out of control, when your habits fall apart, when your mindset begins to slip, it's not a sign that you've failed. It's a sign that you need space, not more opinions, not more noise, just space. Space to think clearly, space to heal, space to correct the path. You disappear not to vanish forever, but to realign yourself in silence. The problem is, most people try to fix their life in public. They try to look strong while everything inside is falling apart. They keep showing up for others while avoiding themselves. They stay active online, but completely disconnected from their own reality. That doesn't help. That only makes the pressure worse. If you're constantly visible, constantly reachable, constantly performing, you leave no room to grow. Real change needs quiet. Real growth needs time. And sometimes, disappearing for a while is the only way to hear what your life has been trying to tell you. You don't owe the world constant access to your journey. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't have to tell anyone where you are or what you're fixing. That part is for you. That's the chapter where you close the doors, turn the volume down, and start working on what really matters: your inner world, your mindset, your health, your energy, your structure, your future. That work is personal, and the more personal it is, the more powerful it becomes. No audience, no applause, just you and the decision to finally fix what's been dragging you down. There are parts of your life that cannot be repaired in chaos. They can't be improved while you're still trying to maintain your image. Some things require complete focus. They require reflection. They require cutting off distractions long enough to understand what's really going wrong. You can't do that if you're still trying to keep up appearances. You can't do that if you're still caught in routines that aren't serving you. Sometimes you have to walk away from the noise, from the people, from the schedule, from the pressure. Not permanently, but long enough to come back better. Disappearing doesn't mean isolation forever. It means choosing a season of solitude so you can rebuild with strength. It means recognizing that growth isn't always loud. It's often slow, quiet, internal. It's the decisions you make when no one's watching. It's the habits you improve when no one's checking. It's the mindset you develop when there's no one to impress. You build in silence, so when you return, you carry something real. Not performance, not pretense, but transformation. People may wonder where you've gone. They may guess. They may assume. But that doesn't matter. They don't need to understand your silence. They don't need to be part of your healing. You don't have to update them on every move. You're not disappearing for them. You're disappearing for you, to get clear again, to feel alive again, to stop pretending and start becoming. That's what makes it powerful. You step back not out of weakness, but out of strength. Fixing what's broken is not just about removing bad habits. It's about understanding why they formed in the first place. It's about tracing your pain back to the root. looking at the triggers, facing the beliefs that shaped your behavior. That kind of work can't be rushed, and it can't be done in the middle of everyone else's expectations. You need silence to go deep. You need stillness to be honest, and you need time alone to decide how you want to move forward differently. There are moments in life when you outgrow your surroundings. Your environment starts to feel small. Your routines stop helping. The people around you stop aligning with your vision, and in those moments, disappearing becomes necessary. You step away not because you're lost, but because you're evolving. And that evolution needs room. You don't shrink yourself to stay visible. You allow yourself to grow, even if it means going invisible for a while. When you disappear, you begin to see the patterns. You notice the things that used to trigger your anxiety. You realize how many of your decisions were made from fear. You see clearly what you've been avoiding. That clarity is painful, but it's also free, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You start to take responsibility for it. You start making adjustments. You stop blaming. You stop escaping. And you begin rebuilding from a real place. That rebuild doesn't need to be shared. It doesn't need to be documented. It doesn't need to be explained. You don't owe the world a breakdown of your healing. You just owe yourself the time and space to do it properly. To go all the way in. To feel the discomfort. To reset your habits. To rewire your focus. That's what turns a breakdown into a breakthrough. That's what takes someone from confused to clear. From drained to powerful. From stuck to moving. This process is not glamorous. There's nothing exciting about sitting alone and facing your mess. But there's something honest about it. Something powerful about being brave enough to say, this part of my life isn't working, and I'm going to fix it. Starting now. That kind of decision changes everything. You stop waiting for the right time. You stop hoping someone saves you. You become the one who steps in and makes the shift. That's where self-respect is built. You may lose some people during this time. Not everyone will understand your silence. Not everyone will respect your distance. That's okay. The people who belong in your life will still be there when you return. And if they're not, they were never really there for you to begin with. This chapter isn't about them. It's about you. About finally giving yourself the attention you've been giving everyone else. About finally making your healing and your future the top priority. You'll come back stronger. Not just on the outside, but within. You'll come back with better boundaries, clearer goals, sharper focus. You'll move differently, because you'll think differently. You'll speak less, but your presence will say more. You'll need less, but give more. You'll no longer depend on validation, because you'll know your own worth. That's what happens when you disappear for the right reasons. You don't return to be seen. You return to move forward. So if you feel overwhelmed, lost, or stuck, take a step back. Disconnect. Log out. Slow down. Look within. Ask yourself what's broken, and then start fixing it. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Now. And do it in silence. Do it without the pressure to prove anything. Just do it because your life deserves it. You deserve it. And the future you want isn't going to build itself. This isn't the end. This is a reset. This is you taking full ownership of your path. No more waiting. No more blaming. No more explaining. Just doing the work. Quietly. Honestly. Completely. And when the time is right, you'll return. Not the same, but renewed. Not louder, but wiser. Not drained, but ready. Ready to move forward with a clear mind, a healed heart, and a stronger foundation. That's what disappearing to fix what's broken is all about. It's not weakness, it's the beginning of everything right.
Chapter 8. Cut emotional noise and build mental sharpness daily.
Mental sharpness is not something that shows up by accident. It's earned. It's built. It's something you choose to create through structure, self-control, and focus. But none of that happens if you're surrounded by emotional noise all day. If your mind is filled with overthinking, drama, negativity, and emotional distractions, you'll never develop the clarity needed to make real progress. You might be moving, but you're not moving forward. You're reacting, not responding. And a mind stuck in reaction mode will always feel drained and directionless. Cutting emotional noise starts by recognizing what it is. It's not just chaos from other people. It's your own habits of overcomplicating simple things. It's holding on to grudges that weigh down your energy. It's giving too much attention to people who don't deserve access to your emotions. It's revisiting old stories that no longer help you grow. Every single day, if you're not careful, your mental space gets filled with clutter that has nothing to do with your goals. You think you're tired because you're working too much, but often you're tired because you haven't cleared your mind. You can't sharpen your thoughts when your emotions are always in charge, and that's where most people fall apart. They think with their feelings, they react from impulse, they carry every comment, every slight, every doubt like it's a weight on their shoulders, and then they wonder why they can't focus. Mental sharpness demands emotional discipline. You can't control every feeling that comes up, but you can control how long you hold on to it. Some things you just have to let go, not because it doesn't matter, but because you do. Start small. The moment you wake up, don't reach for emotional input. Don't start your day with someone else's opinions, arguments, or noise. Take 5 minutes to sit with yourself. Ask yourself what really matters today. Get clear. Make a simple plan. Decide how you want to respond, not just what you want to do. Then stick to it. Don't let a single message, post, or comment pull you off your track. If something doesn't help you focus, it's not worth your energy. Mental sharpness is a practice. It's not built on intense moments. It's built on daily decisions. The decision to avoid gossip. The decision to stay calm when provoked. The decision to not explain yourself to people who don't listen. The decision to use your time wisely instead of constantly reacting to whatever comes up. Every day you make those decisions, your mind gets cleaner. Your thinking gets clearer. Your focus gets stronger. You also need to create space to think, not just react, but actually think. That means time without distractions, time without background noise, time when it's just you and your thoughts. That time helps you see what's real. It helps you identify what thoughts are helpful and which ones are just emotional noise, pretending to be truth. When you spend time reflecting, you begin to sort your thoughts. You begin to understand your pattern, and the more aware you become, the more power you gain over your own mind. This isn't about becoming robotic. It's about becoming intentional. Emotional noise isn't bad because feelings are wrong. It's bad because unmanaged feelings steal your clarity. You can feel emotions fully and still remain in control. You can process pain without becoming bitter. You can hear criticism without letting it define your identity. You can disagree with someone and not carry it in your chest all day. That's mental maturity. And it's built through repetition. Start tracking what triggers emotional chaos in your life. Who or what causes you to spiral into overthinking? What habits lead you to waste time mentally? What conversations leave you feeling scattered instead of grounded? Once you identify those triggers, you can start protecting yourself from them. Not by avoiding reality, but by taking responsibility for your mental state. You are not a victim of your thoughts. You are the one who directs your mind. Protect your mind like it's the control panel for your future, because it is. Everything you do, everything you create, everything you become, it all starts in the mind. And if your mind is full of noise, you'll keep living life on autopilot. You'll keep repeating cycles. You'll stay stuck in the same place, even if you're working hard. Progress isn't just about effort. It's about clear thinking. And that only comes when you take time each day to clear out the emotional garbage. Simplify your input. You don't need 10 sources of information pulling you in different directions. You need clarity. Pick 1 or 2 things to focus on. Go deep. Stay consistent. That builds sharpness. Constant switching. Constant reacting. That only weakens your ability to concentrate. And if you can't concentrate, you can't grow. Growth comes from focused energy, from deep work, from mental discipline. Mental sharpness also comes from keeping your word. Every time you break a promise to yourself, your mind learns to distrust your own direction. You say you'll wake up early, but you hit snooze. You say you'll stop checking your phone, but you scroll anyway. You say you'll take action, but you procrastinate. These may seem small, but they matter. They teach your mind to follow emotion instead of structure, and over time you lose respect for your own standards. That's where fog sets in. That's where confusion starts. That's where clarity breaks down. To reverse this, you don't need a perfect plan. You need simple, clear rules. Rules you live by. No matter what, that's what builds internal order. That's what trains your mind to listen when you give it direction. And as you live with more structure, your emotions stop controlling your behavior. You become grounded, steady, clear. Another part of mental sharpness is separating fact from emotion. Just because something feels urgent doesn't mean it is. Just because you feel offended doesn't mean someone meant to hurt you. Just because you're afraid doesn't mean something bad is going to happen. Learn to pause. Ask yourself, what's really happening here? That pause saves you from reacting emotionally. That pause gives you a moment to choose your response. That's where sharp thinking lives. In the space between emotion and action. And you can't create that space if you're always overstimulated. You need quiet. You need breaks from input. You need time with no screens, no conversations, no decisions. Time where your mind can breathe. In that breathing space, your focus returns. Your creativity reappears. Your discipline resets. But if you never give your mind a break, it stays exhausted. And an exhausted mind makes poor decisions. Emotional noise also comes from carrying too much from the past. Old mistakes, old shame, old wounds. You replay it, you reanalyze it, and it clouds your current thinking. You can't build mental sharpness if half your mind is stuck in memories. That doesn't mean you ignore your past, it means you face it, learn from it, and then choose to let it go. You carry the lesson, not the weight. That shift frees up mental space. It allows your focus to return to what's happening now, not what already happened. You also sharpen your mind by asking better questions. Most people ask emotional questions. Why is this happening to me? Why don't they support me? What if I fail? Better questions sound like, what can I do right now to move forward? What's the most productive use of my energy today? What lesson can I take from this and apply? The quality of your thoughts improves when the quality of your questions improves. Your mental state is your responsibility. No one else can clean your mind for you. No one else can protect your energy. No one else can manage your emotion. That's your work. And if you take it seriously, everything changes. Your decisions get better. Your relationships improve. Your focus becomes sharper. Your results start to match your potential. But it starts with a daily choice. To cut the noise, feel your emotions without becoming them, and train your mind to stay sharp. This isn't about being perfect. You'll still get distracted. You'll still feel overwhelmed but every day you come back to your center. Every day you protect your peace. Every day you stay intentional. You get better. You build control. You develop strength. And over time you become the kind of person who doesn't get knocked off balance easily. That's what mental sharpness really is. It's not about always being calm. It's about coming back to clarity faster every time something tries to pull you away. And that is a skill worth building every single. Chapter 9. Control your mood or lose focus every single day. Every day starts with one quiet decision, whether you control your mood or let your mood control you. And that choice, although it might seem small, decides the quality of your entire day. It decides whether you follow through with your goals or fall back into distractions, whether you stay focused on your priorities or get consumed by things that don't matter. It decides whether you show up with strength or stay stuck in frustration. Most people don't realize how much of their life is shaped not by circumstances, but by emotional decisions made in the first few minutes of the day. You can lose an entire day to one reaction if you don't take control. The way you feel can either become your fuel or your excuse. When your mood is off and you don't check it, everything slips. Your focus fades, your standards drop, your thoughts spiral, and before you know it, the day is wasted, not because anything serious happened, but because you allowed one emotion to lead the entire show. A bad mood can make you ignore the plan you created. It can make you avoid the habits you promised to follow. It can trick you into thinking today doesn't matter, but it does. Every day matters, especially the ones when you don't feel your best. Taking control of your mood doesn't mean pretending to be happy. It doesn't mean faking energy or forcing motivation. It means becoming aware. It means catching yourself before you drift too far. It means not giving every emotion the power to lead your behavior. That requires discipline. It requires self-checks throughout the day. When something frustrates you, pause. When a thought makes you anxious, question it. When your energy drops, adjust your approach instead of collapsing into negativity. That's how you stay grounded when the day tries to pull you in every direction. Emotions are real, but they don't always tell the truth. Just because you feel like quitting doesn't mean you should. Just because you feel tired doesn't mean the work isn't worth doing. Just because you feel discouraged doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. You've got to learn to separate how you feel from what you do. That separation is what creates consistency. That's what builds mental strength. The people who get results aren't always in a good mood. They've just learned how to keep showing up, no matter what their mood is doing. You can train your mood like you train a muscle. You start by catching the early signs. The moment you feel tension, impatience, or self-pity rising, take a breath and reset. Don't wait until the emotion grows too strong. If you don't catch it early, it multiplies, and the longer you sit in it, the harder it is to pull out. You've got to create systems that protect your mind. Whether it's a 5-minute walk, journaling, taking a cold shower, or changing your environment, build habits that bring you back to your center quickly. That's how you take control. Your morning mood often sets the tone for everything else. If you start the day with anxiety, distractions follow. If you start it with calm and clarity, you move with intention. So protect your mornings. Don't begin your day scrolling through opinions, complaints, or emotional content. Start with your mind, not someone else's. Remind yourself what you're working toward. Check in with your focus. Decide how you want to show up, and hold yourself to that regardless of how the day unfolds. That mindset turns you into a leader of your life, not just a passenger. There will always be things outside your control. People will say things that get under your skin. Situations will test your patience. Unexpected problems will show up without warning. But the one thing that's always in your control is how you choose to respond. You can either meet chaos with more chaos, or you can meet it with clarity. You can match negative energy, or you can protect your peace. One reaction can either keep you focused or completely throw you off track. That's why you can't afford to let your mood decide your action. Self-control isn't about being emotionless. It's about not being owned by your feelings. It's about giving yourself the space to feel without letting those feelings dictate your behavior. That's what separates the disciplined from the reactive. The disciplined person still feels anger, doubt, and fatigue, but they don't build their day around those emotions. They pause, they adjust, they redirect. That ability changes everything. If your mood controls you, your results will always be inconsistent. One day you'll be on fire. The next day you'll avoid everything. You'll crush your goals on Monday and sabotage them on Thursday. You'll wonder why your progress feels stuck, but it's not about talent or strategy. It's about emotional regulation. It's about learning to manage your inner world, so your outer world doesn't fall apart every time things feel difficult. When you control your mood, you give yourself the gift of stability. You create a rhythm that isn't easily broken. You stop making decisions based on temporary feelings and start building based on long-term vision. You no longer panic when things don't go your way. You adapt. You don't crumble when people misunderstand you. You stay centered. That kind of emotional control makes you unshakable, and it's something you have to practice every single day. You build that practice by checking your mind like you check your schedule. Ask yourself throughout the day, where's my focus right now? What's influencing my mood? Is this thought helping or hurting me? That level of awareness is powerful. It gives you the ability to course correct in real time. It stops you from wasting hours in a bad headspace. It keeps you aligned with your goals even when the day gets tough. When your mood is off, don't wait for it to fix itself. Do something about it. Move your body. Drink water. Breathe deeply. Shift your posture. Speak something out loud that reminds you who you are. Write down what's bothering you and get it out of your system. Emotional momentum can be broken, but you have to break it on purpose. Waiting for your feelings to shift is passive. Taking action to shift your state is power. You also need to be honest with yourself. Are you using your mood as an excuse? Are you justifying laziness, procrastination, or poor habits because you're not feeling it today? That mindset will keep you stuck. You have to call yourself out. You have to be stronger than your feelings, because feelings come and go, but your future is built by the choices you repeat. There's no shortcut to mastering your mood. It takes effort. It takes discipline. It takes being uncomfortable. But over time, you get stronger. You get faster at recovering. You stop giving bad moods full control over your day. You don't wait for inspiration. You move with discipline. And the more you do that, the more focused your life becomes. This is about becoming a professional in your own life. Professionals don't wait until they feel like it. They do what needs to be done. They adjust their mindset, not their commitment. They stay in motion regardless of mood. And that's why they grow. That's why they win. You can't expect high performance if your mood leads the way. You have to be the one in charge. Each day is a test. A test of your emotional awareness. A test of your focus. A test of your discipline. Some days, you'll pass with ease. Other days, you'll struggle. But the point isn't perfection. It's consistency. It's showing up for yourself, again and again, with full awareness that how you feel is only one part of the story. The rest is what you choose to do about it. Your mood can either be your excuse or your reason. You can say, I'm too tired to work, or you can say, I'm tired, but I still care about my future. You can say, I don't feel motivated today, or you can say, I'm not motivated but I'm disciplined. That shift in language creates a shift in behavior, and when your behavior changes, your results change. So as you move through each day, check your mood. Respect it, but don't follow it blindly. Use it as information, not instruction. Stay calm, stay grounded, stay clear. Because the moment you give your emotions full control, you lose the day. But when you take charge of your internal state, you stay in control of your focus, your actions, and your direction. And that's what creates the life you actually want to live.
Chapter 10. Prepare quietly now, and show up heavy in 2026. The most powerful transformations happen when no one is watching, not because you're hiding, but because you're focused. You're locked in. You're not asking for approval. You're not waiting for encouragement. You're not broadcasting your every move. You're preparing silently, relentlessly, strategically. While everyone else is chasing noise, you're building something solid. While others waste time proving themselves, you're stacking wins in silence. And that's exactly what you should be doing right now. Preparing without applause, training without attention, fixing every weakness, mastering every step, and keeping every intention private until you're ready to unleash what you've been working for. You don't need to tell the world what you're about to do. The world doesn't need your promises. The world will see your presence when it's time. But right now, your job is to get better. Every single day, without distraction, without explanation, without the need to be seen. You don't need to go public with your progress. You need to go deep into the work. This season is not about being visible. It's about becoming undeniable. And that starts with keeping your head down while you strengthen everything inside you. The mistake most people make is they rush to be noticed before they're truly ready. They want to show up without the preparation. They want to be loud without being skilled. But you can't afford that. If you want to show up heavy in 2026, you need to become someone people can't ignore. Because your results are too clear, your actions are too precise, and your discipline is too obvious to overlook. And that version of you doesn't come from shortcuts. It comes from sacrifice, from structure, from doing the things you know you must do, even when no one else understands why you're doing them. You have time right now, and you have space. That's not something everyone gets. Don't waste it. Use it. Use it to fix your routines. Use it to sharpen your focus. Use it to build new standards. Use it to correct what you've been avoiding. You're not late. You're not behind, but you are responsible. Responsible for how you show up today, so that 2026 doesn't catch you unprepared. Responsible for not just dreaming about change, but becoming the kind of person who makes it real. When you prepare in silence, you develop something that most people never do: consistency without attention. That kind of consistency makes you unshakable. You don't depend on motivation. You don't need to feel seen. You just move. You follow through. You make the uncomfortable choices every day that build something no one can take from you. That's how you develop confidence. Not from talk, but from patterns, from proving to yourself, over and over, that you can be trusted to do what you said you would do. And 2026 will come, whether you're ready or not, whether you've been building or waiting, whether you've been preparing or avoiding. That date isn't slowing down, but you still have time. You have months ahead of you, days stacked one after another that are quietly asking you, what are you going to do with this moment? You can waste it trying to look successful, or you can use it to become successful. You can chase distractions, or you can commit to the daily work that builds your future from the inside out. The pressure isn't to be perfect, it's to be consistent, to create a rhythm that keeps moving regardless of how you feel, to wake up and choose the process again and again, to say no to things that don't serve the mission, to replace excuses with action, to organize your life in a way that supports your vision, not your comfort.
You don't need more information. You need more application. You need more follow-through. You need more accountability to yourself. Keep your plans private, not because you're secretive, but because you're serious. The more you speak, the more energy you waste. The more you show off, the more distracted you become. Let your preparation be quiet. Let your goals live in your actions. Don't chase validation. Build evidence. Let the results show what words never could. Because when you've truly prepared, you don't have to say much. You walk differently. You carry yourself with calm certainty. You don't need attention to feel powerful. You've already done the work. This is your time to upgrade, not just your habits, but your identity. Upgrade the way you think, the way you manage your time, the way you respond to pressure, the way you handle setbacks, the way you recover from failure. Every day is a new opportunity to install better patterns. You won't feel like it every day. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you do it anyway. What matters is that you protect your priorities. You follow your routine. You cut what doesn't belong. And you keep preparing, even when no one sees it. This isn't just about discipline. It's about direction. Where are you heading? What kind of person do you want to be when 2026 arrives? What kind of energy do you want to carry? What kind of legacy do you want to start living now? The version of you that's ready to show up heavy in that new year isn't built on hype. It's built on silence. It's built on lonely nights of reflection, early mornings of action, and thousands of small choices that no one applauds. That's the truth. That's the process. Some days you'll doubt it's working. Some days you'll feel like nothing's changing. But trust the accumulation. Trust the compound effect. Trust that every focused day adds weight to your future. Every decision to stay disciplined is fuel for that breakthrough moment. You might not see it today, but you're building something solid, quietly, deeply, patiently. That's how real transformation works. You also need to stop seeking constant motivation. Motivation comes and goes. What lasts is clarity. Get clear on your reason. Get clear on your priorities. Then structure your life around that clarity. You'll still have off days. You'll still get tired, but you won't be lost. You'll keep moving because your vision is stronger than your emotions. And the more you protect that clarity, the faster you'll grow. Even if that growth isn't visible yet, avoid the need to explain your silence. You don't have to tell anyone why you've stepped back, why you're not responding to every message, why you're not at every event, why you're not available like you used to be. This isn't about being cold. It's about being focused. You've got a short window of time to get serious, and that seriousness requires sacrifice. It requires you to do less talking and more doing, less showing and more building. Your future self will thank you, not because everything was easy, but because you finally got real. You finally stopped stalling. You finally said enough waiting and got to work. The kind of work that doesn't trend online. The kind of work that happens behind closed doors. The kind of work that shifts your direction for good. So prepare now. Do the workouts. Study the books. Rebuild your finances. Fix your patterns. Rewrite your habits. Reinvent your routine. Level up your mindset. Clean up your space. Build your structure. And do it quietly. Quietly, but completely. Quietly, but intentionally. Quietly, but with every bit of fire you've got. Because when 2026 shows up, you don't want to still be getting ready. You want to be ready. You want to show up with weight, with strength, with a presence so real that no one questions whether you belong. They'll know, and more importantly, you'll know. This is the season where most people waste time waiting to be inspired. But you're not most people. You're not waiting. You're preparing, and you're doing it without needing attention, without needing permission, without needing everything to be perfect. You're doing it because you finally understand that the life you want won't come from luck. It'll come from this moment right now, from the quiet work you put in today, from the discipline you apply even when no one claps for it. So keep moving, keep stacking the days, keep fixing what needs to be fixed, stay locked in on the mission, and when the clock turns and the new year arrives, you'll be more than ready. You'll be undeniable, you'll be sharp, you'll be clear, and you'll walk into that year, not asking for opportunities, but creating them. That's what it means to prepare quietly now and show up heavy when it counts. That's how you own your future, and that future starts now.